American borrowers dubbed severely delinquent, or at least 60 days overdue on their car payments, is up nearly 18% from a year ago. That same rate for subprime borrowers up 40%.
Here's a repossession. Here we have another repossession, not looked after all that well. Here's a little used Subaru. Here we have a slightly used A8. This is a repossession, as is this Mitsubishi Evo Lancer. This Jeep Grand Cherokee, here's a repossession. It's rode hard, put away wet, and as well we have a Ram, and clearly it's missing the bumper. Often repossessed vehicles are rarely looked after by the owner. They don't care. They usually give up the ghost and don't even bother with the condition of the vehicle. And sadly, stories like this, as well as cases like this where you have fires, burning, dunnage, and obviously makeshift materials for a home. People hiding behind transformers and living in their RVs because they can't afford to live in a house and drive a car means there are clearly something wrong.
Low arm rates that were locked in during the pandemic, well, they're now expiring. Home insurance costs are on the rise, and so too are property taxes. Car, rent, and real estate prices are soaring. People feeling the pinch.
Car repossessions are up 23%.
The cost of living crisis is real. People having to live under bridges, live under scaffolding, in their vehicles parked on the side of the road, and the fact that we're seeing repossessions on an all-time high just are indications of the cost of living crisis. And the cost of living differential between what you earned 5 short years ago versus the cost of your home versus the cost of food, we were a much tighter differential, and now it's becoming the true have and have nots.
The average monthly new vehicle payment hitting an all-time high of $730, many boosted by rising interest rates.
And we're starting to see this. Why? We've seen food prices skyrocket 2, 3, 4 times what they were a few short years ago. We've even seen housing prices go up dramatically. We're seeing housing costs at least double or triple in the larger cities in Canada, Vancouver and Toronto, while every other city across North America, including the States, has continued to climb as well and escalate, separating the difference between those that have and those that don't. And everybody knows housing's gone up, food's gone up, but cars, and that's the essential way for people to get around, to get to the jobs that they pay for all these things. But the cost of vehicles has gone up 20, 30, 40, even 50%, and in some cases a lot more than it was even 5 short years ago. For example, here's a great candidate right here. Let's take a look. We have a Dodge Dually 4x4 as we see, and of course this is a limited, very large and in charge. You get this great little decal right there. Of course you can tow a lot with this. This is a Dually 1 ton, clearly. The deep wheels, the big flares, and of course this is a great looking unit. Big mirrors, and this is the 3500 HD, but these don't come at a cheap price tag. Let's take a quick look and see how much. Well, right here, night edition vehicle, 4x4, lots of different options. As you can see, you do have sunroof up in there, the bigger screen. This is a beautiful truck, but the price, $121,000. It's 121 grand. That is a significant amount of money. Oh, and here's another beauty right here. These are one of the higher cost vehicles you'll find in a lot of the Jeep products. And we're looking at a Rubicon here, and this is a 4xe, which means when you see the blue hooks there, that means it's electrified. Yes, it's a beautiful unit. Plug in there, lots of blue decals all over the place. 4 doors, you got the painted roof, of course even the painted flares here. Beautiful vehicle, more blue hooks, and this oversized wheel on the back. Definitely love the looks of this vehicle around here, and as you can see, lots of great painted parts, and it's just a beautiful unit. But how much does this unit cost? Well, how about $85,655 there? $85,000. I can't believe it. That's getting out of hand. How about this Charger right here? Let's take a quick look. This doesn't look to be all that exciting. Pretty garden variety, certainly no Hellcat. $59,970 for this unit, and it's clearly one of the more average generic looking Chargers on the line. Here we have a Challenger over here in silver. Let's take a look at the sticker on that one, and it's a beautiful unit. Of course, no less, it is also $55,000. And this is the GT all-wheel drive plus. Cute vehicle, but they're charging a lot of money for a base model Dodge. And over here we have a Hornet. Right here, the new Dodge Hornet, as you can see, GT, as you notice right there. And one of the problems is these vehicles are too expensive, and they're one of the worst selling vehicles that Dodge has right now. Lots of time on the lot, very difficult to sell, but here's a reason why. They're overpriced. I mean, here, Protezione, Cercio. So, pardon my Italian, I don't speak Italian very well. This clearly shares the bones with the Alfa Romeo Tonale. So, what you're doing is essentially bringing a vehicle that has affiliations with Italy, transportation costs, all of that R&D or extra badging or changes to actually make this vehicle a little bit more expensive. What they really needed to do here was create a vehicle that was more cost effective, small SUV that people can get their hands on, can afford it, and enjoy it. But instead, they create something that has a little bit of a clout to it, and now, of course, you pay the price. And right here we have a whole row of vehicles, as you can see. I call this upside down alley because these are examples of vehicles that people bought back at the peak 2022, when we saw prices at their all-time highs, interest rates start to spike up, and we saw people that were paying way over sticker because they did not want to wait.
Most of the stuff out here is repossessed.
There was this alleged shortage on chips and materials and vehicles, and people were often paying a lot more than MSRP on a lot of vehicles. It didn't matter if you were talking trucks, cars, SUVs, people were paying more, way more than they should have. And because people were often paying a lot more than they should, now after we skip out a year or two, all of a sudden we look at a scenario of naturally depreciation. Vehicles now start to dive back in, slot back into their natural depreciation curve. The problem is they all bought and they borrowed money at that top peak dollar, and now they're in a place where if they want to trade it in, sell it, even look at their sheer equity of that vehicle, they often have $25,000 to pay on a vehicle that's only worth $17,200 as example. And this is clearly what's happening right now, is people have overpaid. They're now in a negative equity situation. They have to keep paying or they're going to lose.
Banks just giving out money, you had the government giving out money, everybody was getting paid, so everybody went out. They bought a bunch of vehicles that they couldn't afford.
Or if they decide they want to trade in for another next vehicle, they know they're going to lose their shirts and they're going to have to cover the difference or roll it in to the next and wind up absorbing a lot of those losses in the first place. Now, you just keep rolling it from one vehicle purchase to the next vehicle purchase, and the only way out now, unfortunately, is to pay out that dollar lump sum that you owe from that first transaction. And now, even with some big incentives that we're seeing all over the place, we look here, save over $18,500 on Ram 1500 models, and basically payments from $129 weekly. I like how they do that weekly thing. It kind of deceives you a little bit. $129 is more like $500-600, and that's barely getting in the door. Guaranteed, good luck. I'd like to see them show me one of those vehicles for $500-600 a month, because the way from where I stand, the price of any one of these pickup trucks, and this doesn't matter if we're talking Dodge, Ford, Ram, Toyota, Honda, Nissan, or even some of the luxury brands, Range Rover, BMW, Audi, a lot of those are even less incentivized. So all cars, SUVs, and trucks are highly priced these days, making the cost of living crisis even more aggressive, when we know this is the second largest investment in your life is your cars, your trucks, your vehicle, your transportation. Everybody in most countries, I know Canada, United States, need a form of transportation, get from city to city, town to town, because we're not so congested. We're spread out, and therefore you usually need a vehicle. And here's another great example, a 3500 HD Cummins turbo diesel, but this is basically a tradesman right here. This is nothing more than the most basic of basic 1-ton diesel pickup trucks. Yes, you do get 4x4, and you do get the standard size box here. You got nice chrome. You notice plastic, of course, very basic there. Basic handles, very simplistic, and lots of simple parts in this vehicle. But this tradesman crew 4x4 is going for $89,000. 89 grand right there, 89,000 bucks. More examples of how expensive these vehicles have gotten. I remember probably 10 years ago, you can get yourself a nicely equipped diesel pickup truck for about $60,000. We've clearly gone up probably 25 to 30% on your average garden variety diesel truck. Now, the only way to keep things affordable on the purchasing front is to buy something like this. This is a high mileage truck. We're looking at a Ram that has about 300,000 kilometers. Look at it. It's all rusted out. You have to buy a truck that's all rusted and it's ready to fall apart. Look underneath. The actual emergency brake there is all hanging loose. And clearly, this is a used and abused vehicle. You can actually see the cable hanging down below. So everything is worn out, clapped out, rusted out, and just the kind of vehicle about most average Joe can buy these days, because they can't afford a proper, good, late model, quality, low mileage vehicle like this. Now, it is such a sad state of affairs to see people actually looking to have to trade their vehicles up and lose even a pile more money. Of course, even like this, give your key back to your Ram, as you see right here, or people having to give back their nice shiny Mercedes right here, give the key back just because they don't want the payments anymore. And I truly do feel that what we're seeing in the market are truck sales dropping off SUV sales dropping off, car sales dropping off. And I've shared that in previous videos, how we've seen this last quarter, they've actually declined by significant amounts, anywhere from 5 to 10% month over month, and as much as 20% year over year. If you're talking about one of these vehicles here, have literally gone down the tube by almost 20% year over year in sales, just because they're not selling, they're too expensive. And a lot of people either trade down, not trade up, get rid of their highly expensive vehicles, trucks and SUVs, luxury vehicles. They're having to wave bye-bye. And what we're seeing now is an absolute avalanche of negative equity situations where people have way more owing than the vehicle's worth. And when this all becomes exposed, the banks are going to feel the burn, they're going to take the hurt, people are going to take the burn, and of course with interest rates holding.
The banks are refusing to sell these cars because they think they're worth more money.
The sad part is interest rates aren't going to give buyers any relief anytime soon. At this point, nobody seems to be getting any deals soon. So that just continues on the hurt for those people that can't afford it. And while yes, there's a segment of the market of people that are doing well. There's people that own big business. There's people that have found niches and have capitalized during this tough time. The fact remains is the vast majority of the economy and the middle class find continued struggles in trying to make their payments for their car, their van, their SUV, their pickup truck, and then to insult to injury, the price of a lot of these vehicles just keeps going up and up and up. And while yes, we've seen in certain cases the new Rams are being marketed as anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000 less for 2025, I truly believe that's one of two reasons. Number one, the new Hurricane engine that nobody probably wants, especially the diehard Hemi drivers, don't want anything to do with a single inline 6 turbo gas engine. Or the other fact is they're just feeling the market and riding a wave as the ebbs and flows come. There's still enough buyers, so they're going to maintain the price. They feel that buyers are dropping off and the sales are dropping off, which we're seeing, and then they're going to reduce just enough to catch that wave at the bottom. But the sad part is it enough? Is $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 off sticker on the new Dodge Rams going to be enough, or any vehicles for that matter? Many manufacturers aren't offering up any significant rebates, other than maybe a little $2,500 here, $7,500 there. But clearly the vehicles are still exceedingly expensive. As long as we continue to see homeless rates climb, as long as we see interest rates holding or climbing, as long as we see repossessions continue to climb, which we are, as long as we see the cost of living for food and housing continue to climb, which they are, and as long as we see wages holding or barely keeping up, we're likely in for a long road ahead of us. As parity is no longer the conversation, it's now disparity between wages and cost of living. Most people struggle to make a go. You're definitely going to want to check out that video right there, how CEO of Jeep responds because these Jeeps are just not selling. Hope to see each and every one of you on the next one. We'll see you real soon. Bye-bye.